So can I please invite to the stage Richard Bassett and Luke Duffel. So Richard is our Vice President of Digital AI and Analytics. And Luke Duffel is a solution expert in Richard's team.
Me for now, but thank you.
Okay,
yep. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Just wait for there we go, thank you. So thanks, Heis. Great to be here. I'm Richard Bassett. As the introduction was, I lead the digital, the AI, and the analytics business across our international markets. Been with NICE for almost 2 years, but spent the last 20-odd years in transforming organizations, so moving them from what was a voice world primarily into more of a digital self-serve world, helping both the customers and the employees as well. I'm going to speak for about 10 minutes, just talking about some of the trends, some of the expectations that we're seeing across the globe right now. And I'm going to hand it over on the back of that to Luke, who's going to actually talk about some of the specific capabilities that we've been working on, and he's actually going to bring some of those to life for you as well. So here at NICE, I just wanted to start off by saying that we believe that customer experience isn't just part of the business. It is the business. And happy customers, they buy more. They stay with your brand for longer. They are advocacies of your business, which is going to outperform the biggest advertising budgets that you've ever had. And everything nowadays is becoming much more commoditized. So differentiation is really difficult when it's just price and quality. Customer interactions, they're going to play a massive part because of this commoditization that's taking place. And so the interactions that your customers have with your brand are more important than ever before. So given the importance of customer experience interactions, I'm going to discuss some of the major trends that we're seeing and why that is so important across the market. So in today's digital-first era, organizations, they're facing a phenomenon we call interaction inflation, which is driven by lots of different factors. Firstly, there's less face-to-face business because of the pandemic, because of the digital economy, because stores and branches, they're closing down. There's more channels now available to your customers, which means that your brand's more available. But you've got more interactions because you've opened up SMS, WhatsApp, social media. You've got applications now. So interaction inflation, that basically equals more channels, which equals more problems. And it's only going to get more difficult for you as a business to have to work through. And digital technology, it's created the expectation that digital interactions, they should just work. For example, you push a button and your car starts. You order groceries with a few clicks on the internet, and your food, it arrives at your doorstep a few hours later. You say, "Hey Siri," or "Okay Google," and instantly you get the answers. You control your home. You get reminders or put items on your shopping list. It's almost magical how smoothly these interactions unfold, and it's set the bar really, really high. And on top of that, human nature means that we are less likely to compromise with using digital services compared to what we would have done if we were having an emotional connection with a human being. However, despite our best efforts, other than the simple stuff that's been automated for quite some time, the digital reality is usually fallen short for CX because of how complicated and nuanced the interactions are that's in the contact center. There is no easy button that you can push for customer experience. The demand for digital excellence, it's about to make every interaction as seamless as possible and effortless, just like the Hey Siris or the OK Googles. So while many organizations think that customer experience, they think of it as isolated interactions. But customers, what they do is they form a perspective of your brand based on the continuous interactions and experiences they're having with you. So each and every interaction builds upon the last, creating an experience memory. Just like humans, today's technology, it can form memories to understand us as individuals and give us connections and context and personalize. So if you think of Netflix, if you think of Amazon, if you think of Spotify, they all create these positive experiences. Think of all that consumer tech that's making our lives easier, more convenient. Smartphones, smart appliances, smartwatches, all creating our own personalized experience memories to make our lives better. This is the expectations that brands will connect together all of our interactions and preferences and create that experience continuum rather than all of these disjointed interactions we've been having. And if we look at the barriers that prevent customers from changing, they're eroding. So customer protection policies, easy cancels, it makes it really simple for a consumer to move from your brand to one of your competitors. And the legacy tech stacks that many organizations are working with, which nobody set out to achieve, it creates friction with fragmented technologies and all your data in different silos. And the first-gen conversational AI that many people have been doing, it's falling short of the expectations, often operating in isolation of the traditional contact centers because it doesn't have the know-how of what the contact center has. And there is less and less tolerance for anything that creates anything unnecessary, any hassle, any headaches. Frictionless experiences will be your differentiator. So let's recap quickly on what I just said. Interaction inflation means that organizations are being overloaded from all directions. Consumers, they're expecting personalized digital excellence that's effortless, just like Hey Google. But disjointed interactions, that breaks the continuity that customers are expecting. And this all sets the stage for a great opportunity that AI now presents. If the past 18 months or so has taught us anything, AI is not just a buzzword. AI that's purpose-built for customer experience can help address some of the challenges I just spoke about. So how does that happen? Well, number one, interaction inflation. AI can scale effortlessly. It can handle one interaction or it can handle 1 million interactions. And it can have a consistency in the quality, minimal cost, and it never gets tired. Digital excellence. AI was born out of the digital era. Given the right data, it's easily programmed to be fast, personalized, extendable, and available on all channels. And guess what? It's 24/7 too. Then you have the experience continuum. Humans have a tiny fraction of the memory capacity of what AI does. So for me, I can barely remember what I had for dinner last night, but AI, it remembers everything. And zero tolerance mindset. AI naturally, it hates friction. When we think of all the advanced mathematics that's behind AI, the primary purpose behind it is to optimize and find optimal solutions, to remove that friction. AI holds immense potential for transforming customer experience in your organizations. We're going to talk about how we think about that. So at NICE, we think about customer experience by simplifying it into inputs and outputs. So if you look at the left-hand side, you'll see three critical inputs. You've got data, insight, and action. So data, that's the fuel that powers your AI. AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. Insight is what generates from that data, the values it stores in its memory. And action, where the rubber hits the road, applying these insights to drive the change. If you look at the right-hand side, then that's the key outputs that result from this AI-driven approach. You've got efficiency, doing more with less. You've got trust, the foundation of any good relationship. And you've got satisfaction, which is your ultimate goal, creating as many of those happy customers that we just talked about as humanly possible. This slide goes a slight bit deeper. It talks about what we're doing from a CX1 platform point of view and with our Enlighten AI. It's been talked about on the video before. First of all, CX data. We start with the industry's richest CX data. If you think about all the years that NICE has been around, the billions of interactions that we've taken from both voice and digital, what we've done is we've created something called Enlighten. We've leveraged all of this data, and Enlighten builds the smartest CX AI to drive insights. Really key, it's CX AI. We've got so many different insights, behavior insights, to determine the customer preferences. Predictive insights, like sentiment, on 100% of interactions, we don't have to survey them. And we combine our proprietary models with public and open source Gen AI, and we bring this in a real conversational application way. The results are that these models work across the whole of our CX1 platform to drive actions. journey orchestration, workforce augmentation, and agent experiences. When you hear us say AI purposed, built for CX, this is what we mean. Trained on CX data, developed with the sole purpose of improving customer experience and operationalizing across all of our applications in CX1. AI is in high demand, and it's for good reason. Brands are looking for AI to solve their problems and succeed in their markets. But AI alone, it's just not enough. AI doesn't bolt easily to legacy tech stacks. It has to be the right kind of AI. Generic AI that's trained on open internet, it's just not going to cut it. You need AI that's purpose-built for consumer experience.
Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon. It's great to be here today in Amsterdam. It's great to see so many familiar faces here in the crowd. But for anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Luke Duffel, and I lead the digital pre-sales team here at NICE. And as part of that role, I get to speak to people just like yourselves across organisations, across every sector you can think of, about digital strategy and how you leverage AI to deliver customer experiences, agent experiences, and experiences for your business users that you want to be delivering in your organisation. I also see every RFP and every RFI that lands with our organisation. And what I'm seeing is a trend. If you look at those questions that come through, the conversations that happen, and this trend, ironically, given we're talking about AI, is how we've been trained as people to think about AI. If you think about how we interact with AI in our day-to-day lives, you think about Siri, you think about Alexa, we think about ChatGPT. We think of AI as a singular entity. And even popular culture. We think about popular culture, we think about films, we think about Skynet from the Terminator franchise. We think about HAL 9000 from Space Odyssey. Or we think about Will Smith's Nemesis, not this one. I'm thinking of AI robot, iRobot. So we're trained to think of AI as a singular entity, and if you think about the rise of AI governance in your organizations, as you get more serious about leveraging AI, this really drives difficult thinking internally for you, and it's not how we think about AI here at NICE. AI is a toolkit. There are many different flavors and types of AI, and what we do at NICE is we use the right tools to deliver specific outcomes in a variety of different ways. So you may be sat there and thinking about what you're doing from a knowledge perspective in your organization today, whether that's customer-facing knowledge or agent-facing knowledge. And if you're not, you absolutely should be, because it is a critical component, particularly when you think about generative AI. So we do think about knowledge very heavily. Expert is our knowledge solution. And with an Expert, we leverage machine learning to drive the relevancy of search results that customers or agents see when they're interacting with that help center environment. We also leverage generative AI to deliver the newest innovation in knowledge around generative search, and you'll see that when I get into the demo section. You may be sitting there and thinking about automating those experiences for your customers, getting bots, whether that's voice bots or chat bots, in front of those customers and helping and solving for some of those lower level challenges that come through. Well, that's where we bring Autopilot into play, and with Autopilot, we're combining conversational AI, trained intent models that drive natural language understanding in a bot to deliver outcomes, transactional activities for your customers, but also combining generative AI with knowledge to deliver those knowledge-related queries via a conversational method via chatbots and voice bots. Or maybe you're thinking about quality as an organization, and you're thinking about how do we ensure that we're actually looking at the full range of conversations that are coming in, and how are our agents performing, and how are customers feeling. This speaks to our Enlighten AI models. We have models that, as Richard talked about, are built on billions of labeled conversational data sets. And those models are proprietary to us, and they're doing specific roles. A model to identify the sentiment in a conversation. A model to help you identify vulnerable customers in contacts. These are really models designed to help you drive those quality programs, the analytics, the insight types of programs. So there are many different flavors of AI that we leverage to deliver very specific outcomes to help you achieve your goals. But we also think about what does that mean from a journey perspective. So we think about that customer journey. Quite often it does start with knowledge. A customer wakes up in the morning, they have a need, I want to find out what the policy is for X, Y, or Z, and they may conduct that search on Google. We're able to optimize, SEO optimize your care knowledge content to get that front and center when the customer starts there on that digital doorstep. You own that journey right from the outset, bringing them into your help center environment. Maybe I need to engage in a conversation off the back of that. You offer up any channel that you wish to as an organization, whether that's voice or one of the many digital channels that we offer as an organization. But when that happens, we want to get an immediacy of response in front of that customer. We want to see if we can solve without the need to bring a human agent in. So that's where Autopilot, the conversational AI solution, comes into play. A bot is able to greet that customer, to concierge, triage what the customer's looking to do, provide answers where answers exist. Where a conversation does need to land with an agent, we bring in our Copilot for Agent solution, our Agent Assist solution, to guide the agent through that conversation, to present knowledge content contextually as the conversation takes place. So no longer do they need to go and search for that information. And then, as a business, how do I tap into that wealth of data that you're generating? Today, that's arduous, multiple reports, going to data analysts with back and forth questions. Actions is our tool that allows you to tap into that in a natural way, to ask questions as if you were asking the person sitting next to you and tap into that business data quickly to accelerate your business decision making. And that rolls right back into that enlightened neural network, the AI models, an expert from a knowledge foundation, and drives that continuous optimization. So let me try and bring some of that to life for you. So this is where we are going to switch to the laptop. We are going to switch to a live demo. This is a friendly audience. Okay? Right, so let's start with knowledge. So many of your organizations, if not all, you're going to have a help center or an FAQ page on your website today. I challenge you, when you leave this meeting today, to go and start having a play with that. Start conducting some searches to see if you can find the information you want to find from your own organization. So within Expert, I talked about the machine learning. So you can see here I've got a query around how do I add new users to CX1 Expert. So my demo environment has a lot of knowledge about CX1 Expert itself. And you can see we're presenting the results ranked on the relevancy here. Users can drill that down based on classifications, different types of subjects, etc. But what we've now done is taken that a step further. And if I click my Expert AI button here, you're going to see that now we're able to use generative AI within that search experience. So alongside the search results, where as a user, I need to dive in and maybe start to find the information I need in that article, we're using generative AI to bring back the information that's been asked for. It understands the natural language query of the user and presents them with the steps they need without the need to then step into the full article. So that's just one way that we start to bring AI into play from a knowledge perspective. Next, let's take a look at that customer experience. So we've talked about bots. Hands up in the room who's been involved in a bot project, bot program of some type. Excellent. Keep your hands up if when you were taking part in those projects, at some point in that process, it involved either a marker pen, a whiteboard, or Post-it or sticky notes. I can see hands. So bot programs, they're labor intensive. And there are two types of need event when you think about a bot. There is the transactional process type needs events. I want to update my address. I need to reset my password. And there are the knowledge type use cases. What is your policy on returns? What's the best credit card offer for me? Whatever it may be. So this is where I spoke about Autopilot, and we combine conversational AI and generative AI. So we're going to come into my bot experience now, and we're going to start with a simple transactional process. So I'm going to ask, I need to reset my password. So here, we are leveraging a trained intent model, natural language understanding, and then we've built flows into the bot. So it's picked up that my intent is to reset my password. It then has a task it carries out. It's going to ask me if I have an account. We can plumb this into back-end data sources, provide data flows back and forth to carry out these transactional processes. It's going to ask me for my email address. And then it's going to come back and provide me with a password reset link in this flow. So a very simple transactional task built on traditional intent models. And we have tools that we can use to help you accelerate the standing up of those intent models. Because in a typical bot program with those marker pens and whiteboards and post-it notes, you would have got in the room, you would have figured out which processes you want to automate. And the first thing you do is you start to figure out for password reset, what are all the different ways that somebody asks to reset their password. And you'll come up with maybe 25, 30 utterances in the room. Somebody will build that into a bot. And the very first customer that interacts with that bot will ask it in a way that nobody's come up with. It hasn't hit the NLU model. The bot falls over. It goes to fallback. You then conduct optimization. And within a few months, you've got a bot that's okay at understanding. So we can help accelerate that for those transactional processes. But here's the great thing. That process is the same for your knowledge. So if you've got 50 FAQs on your customer website today, and you want to be able to surface those via a bot, whether that's voice or digital, and you should, you're going to do the same process. You're going to list those FAQs out, and for each one, you're going to start figuring out how the customers ask for it, and you're going to go through that optimization over weeks and months before you've got a bot that's performant. We can take all of that away. So by combining CX1 Expert, our knowledge management solution, with Autopilot, we start to use generative AI for those. So the flow the bot will go through is it will first check, have I been trained on that intent? So password reset, I've been trained, it will carry out the task. So if I was to ask, what are the different user types that are available? CX1 Expert. So here it's not been trained on this intent. So what it now does is it conducts a lookup into the expert knowledge repository, and it identifies if there's relevant knowledge that speaks to that ask. But it doesn't simply come back with a link to an article or a static response. It's coming back in a conversational manner. Now, that's a very simple single intent type use case. You can do that the traditional way if you wish, but you're only coming back with static links or static responses. Here's where it gets really cool. What is the difference between a pro member and a community member? So here I'm asking a comparison point between two different user types. I do not have knowledge content in my expert instance that is specifically about the difference between the two. But the generative model is able to understand the intent. The user is looking to compare 2 points. It's able to understand if there is knowledge that speaks to that, and again, bring that back as a combined answer for the user that speaks to them conversationally. Again, without any intent training. This is all based on the knowledge that's in your knowledge repository. And finally, those multi-intent type questions, because we're human beings, we don't ask single intents. We don't turn up and ask one question when we're engaging. We ask a couple at a time. So, what can an author do, and how do I add a new user to the system? So two separate intents. I don't have a single knowledge article that answers this. It's tapping into multiple articles within my expert instance and bringing back a combined answer. So what we do in Expert is we create a vectorized database, which ultimately means we can be very precise with the search, and we bring back what are called kernels of knowledge. We're then using a large language model to make that response conversational. So that's how we're handling that here. So again, we've seen an example of machine learning with the search rankings. We've seen generative AI at play here. You've seen conversational AI at play. Different types of AI tools being brought together to deliver a very specific outcome. Now, ChatGPT has everyone worried, right? There's probably the most famous example of a ChatGPT bot in the wild is DPD delivery. An amazing example of how not to leverage the power of generative AI if you're a business. Because that bot was incredibly easy for you to get it to tell you how bad DPD were, how much better their competitors were than them, and you could get it to do it in a sweary fashion, which speaks to my sense of humor, but I do not believe that was the experience that DPD were going for. We guardrail generative AI. We're using it in very specific ways. So we don't allow it to do those crazy things, go off and pull back information that it's been trained on across the entire web. So how do I bake a cake? Simple query. I have no knowledge, unless somebody has been in my knowledge instance since I've done this. There we go. I have no knowledge that speaks to how do you bake a cake. So my bot's not able to answer. I'm sorry, I don't have the knowledge to be able to answer that question. You can design that conversation experience how you like, but it's guardrailed, protecting the experience that you're delivering as an organisation. So I'm going to say I want to speak to an agent, and let's next move across to the agent experience. Now, I'm not checking my email. I'm going to do a conversation now from my Facebook Messenger so that I can only have the agent workspace up. So 2 seconds. And let's move across to our agent workspace. Bear with me. Right. This is where it has fallen apart. I've just got to re-log into my agent workspace. It has closed down. Talk amongst yourselves, sing a song. Rich, I don't know if you want to do some covering for me to recap. 1 minute, I've just got to log back in the CX1.
I will give you some cover while you're doing that. But knowledge is definitely one of the biggest areas we're seeing the growth. And to Luke's point earlier, if you get the knowledge right, then you've got your self-service, which is being driven. You've got your agents, which can leverage it. We'll talk about that in just a second. But you've also got your bots that can leverage that, which is what Luke's shown already. So looks like you were pretty much there.
It's just launching.
Here we go. Well done, Luke.
There we go. So our conversation has landed. We're in available. So this is the chat conversation that we just saw. And you can see I've got the full history of that conversation coming through. And we should see my Facebook message land very imminently. There we go. So this is the agent workspace. And this is where we start to talk about how we assist the agent through that conversation, what we call Copilot. So I'm going to start by, I have had to wait ages to speak to somebody. I'm going to start with a complaint. Who's had that in their organisation when they're looking at customer contacts? So you can see here we're doing a few things in Copilot. I'm going to talk through one at a time. So our customers come through. I've had to wait ages to speak to somebody. They've got a complaint. You'll see on the right-hand side here, we're starting to pick up on the sentiments. This is one of those enlightened AI models that we talked about, trained on data sets, the ability to understand frustration from a customer. And we're giving the agent a visual cue, but we're also giving them the insight into why we believe that sentiment is negative or positive or whatever it may be. This is not about taking away control from the agents. They have agency over that conversation, the experience they deliver. It is about assisting them to deliver a better experience. What you'll then see down here is what we call next best response. So I apologise for the delay. Could you please clarify the nature of your inquiry so I can assist you more efficiently? Who here has been involved in chat programs before? Who here has ever had to build loads of predefined content? Who here has then found out that every single agent ignores all that predefined content and copies and pastes their favourites from a WordPad? Yes. Every time. This takes away the need for you to be building out all of that arduous predefined content. We're using a large language model here to understand what's the ask, what's the statement, what's the sentiment, and start to reflect some of those behaviours, those soft skills that we want to see. So I apologise, we're showing empathy. How can I assist you? And the agent can review, you can define how many options they get, they can scroll through, but ultimately they can then go through and send that into the conversation. Or obviously if they're on a voice call, speak it over the phone. This is how we start to reduce that handle time for the agent. So it's an efficient experience, but a great experience. And customers leveraging Copilot are seeing up to 24% reduction in their average handle time. So this is one of the ways that we do that. So we've come back, how can I help? And I'm going to come through with a, how do I add a new user to the system? So I'm going to drop this in. I've got a query. Now, at the top here, you're seeing that we're summarizing that conversation as we go along. Now, this is gold for your digital agents because I'm handling more than one conversation at a time. And in the world of asynchronous, things like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, where I may not respond for 30 minutes or an hour as I step into a meeting, agents are moving between them and there can be time delays. So instead of me having to constantly remind myself as to where I was at, scrolling through that transcript, I've got an immediate summarization of what's happening. So we summarize in real time as the conversation progresses. If I transfer it to another agent, another team, the same thing, I have that transfer. I can get a quick view on what is this conversation about, what's happened so far. And instantly, I've come in with the ask around adding a new user. This is a knowledge-related inquiry. Now, we've talked about expert. You've seen the search experience in expert. It's great. But it's for your agents, it's even better if I don't have to look for it. So Copilot is doing that lookup. It's finding the knowledge, and it's bringing it back to the user, again, in a conversational manner. So I can simply, as an agent, go ahead and fire that straight into the conversation. But something like adding a new user, there may be multiple steps that I've got to go through. It's not necessarily the most friendly thing to dump 6 or 7 steps on a customer at one time and go, there you go, off you go, let me know how you get on. We might want to control the flow. So we have what's called process steps. So I drop in process steps, we're using a large language model to break down the component steps in that process so I can send them one at a time. Control that flow, deliver a much better experience to the customer. I can also dive into the web links to the articles, send the article across to the customer. So all of the tools I need to deliver an outcome for that customer are presented to me contextually as the conversation progresses. And this is an example of customer-facing knowledge. You can do the same with your internal-facing knowledge. Maybe, to add a new user, there's an internal process I have to go through as an agent on the CRM. So if you've got knowledge around agent processes, that can also be presented in Copilot without the ability, obviously, for them to share that to the customer. So there are different ways we can leverage this to, again, enhance the efficiency for the agents. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to send in the simple answer here, straight into the conversation. So our customer's going to come back. Thanks, that's worked. Happy customer. Nice short conversation like we all wish were happening in our businesses every day. And what I want to show you here finally is our final summarization, the auto summarization of that contact. So I'm going to go ahead now as an agent. Conversation's finished. I'm going to come to my outcome. And they'll be doing their dispositions. I'm going to close it. I've got very simple dispositions in my demo environment. The issue was resolved. And you'll see here at the bottom, I know it's not overly clear on the screen, but it's summarized that conversation for me. So after call notes for agents are a real bugbear of theirs, having to type up everything that's happened in a conversation, we take all of that away and do that automatically. The agent can now review and amend, and once they're happy, go ahead and save, and we can integrate that into a CRM system, push it into the notes field, wherever you want to push that into your CRM. So that's a view there of Copilot and how we assist agents through those conversations. And again, that's digital and voice. With voice, we're transcribing the call as it goes and using that to drive the experience. So that's really it from me for this session in terms of the demo. You will find me in the networking area at the demo station. There is a lot more I can show and talk to you about. So if anyone wants to have a more deeper conversation, please do come and find me. But I thank you all for your time.